Hi. So it's the start of a new year, and I decided to kick off the new year. I would decide to make a horror game. Now, for those of you who don't know what a horror game is, it's basically... Hold on, something just appeared on my screen. It says... Alright, I'm back on my feet. Got myself a new pair of pants, I guess. And wait, where was I? Oh yeah, right. If you've seen my channel long enough, you probably know that I have experience with 3 games already. I have a bit of experience making games, but I've never made a horror game before, and this was going to be my first attempt. Wish me luck, I guess. Okay, so here's how the game is going to work. There's going to be small rooms, hallways, and big room. And the goal is that the player has to go around this whole floor of the mansion and find the pieces of a key by either searching drawers or completing puzzles to get to the key pieces. And once he gets all pieces of the key, he can go to the door or exit and escape the floor. The problem is that he has monsters chasing after him, and if the monsters catch him in true roguelike fashion, the player will die and he has to restart from the entire beginning. Don't worry, I'll figure out the loop thing at some point, but yeah, that's the entire premise of the game. Did you get all that? Okay, I'm just gonna go out on a whim and say that you got all that and just move on from there. Okay, great, let's go. Also, sorry if I'm stirring a lot. I'm doing this whole voiceover without a script, so I'm just going off whatever the footage has. So, yeah, just a quick warning. Anyway, with all that being said, welcome to the first devlog of Twisted Corridor. Alright, let's get this project started. The first thing I did was make a new one, because that's what you always gotta do when making a new project, am I right? I'm terrible at making jokes. Alright, now to make a new project. I just gotta think of the name real quick. Hold on, give me a... Okay, I got the name down, and I think it looks pretty good. Now we just gotta wait for it to install. I'll be right back. It's gonna take like a few minutes. Alright, once the project finished loading up, which took an absurdly long time, I could finally get it started on the project. The first thing I did was make a plane. And I made it so that the plane would be the floor for the rooms that would generate. I also made another game object named Mansion that will be our main generator for the dungeon. Then I got to making the walls of the rooms, and then once it was finished, it was time to finally make the code to make the dungeon generator. First, I had to do a few measurements to make sure how far the rooms can be apart to make them still look connected. You know, like a good game developer. After a lot of coding and a bit of debugging, and a lot more coding to get the thing working, I finally managed to get somewhat decent enough to generate a full-length hallway. Somewhat. It was a bit rusty, but with a bit of code fixes, I managed to get it working the way I intended it to. Now I might be saying, wait, how's all this work? I don't understand. Well, let me explain. I'm an expert in this. Okay, so how the spine works is that we have 4 raycasts going in 4 directions. Forward, back, left, and right. And each raycast's job is to return a boolean to check if there's a room next to it. Also, I set each of their ranges to mathf.infinity for testing purposes. And down the spawn rooms function, it checks if, in this case, hit 1 is equal to false. Then we can get the room by spawning it, and then we can set the room's wall, the back wall, to false, and set the current floor room to false. Otherwise, I will add this later, we will get the spawn room again. And with all that done, voila! We have a seamless hallway which looks like it doesn't seem to have any gaps in it at all. This also allowed me to implement randomization, meaning it could go either backwards or forwards, depending on what integer it is. So I ended up coding that, and after a bit more of debugging, I actually managed to get it seamlessly working. Well, not yet, but I got the center room to go out in all 4 directions. Isn't that cool? And finally, after a lot more of debugging and this happening, I somehow managed to get it working. And now with the code generation completely somewhat bug-free, I can finally get to going on the next part of the project. Somehow getting the hallways up and running. Maybe later. I won't do that right now, but I'll definitely do that later. Alright, so I'm back in Unity, and I'm going to test out the dungeon generation. It's like early in the morning, like 9, well, not that early in the morning, but I decided that I wasn't going to do anything too crazy. Just some simple checks and upgrades. Like, I tested if it could take more rooms, and it could. Then I decided to replace the mathf.infinity with a few units of distance for the raycast, and I just changed mathf.infinity to 10 meters. So yeah, that's basically all I did. Alright, now it's time to actually get the hallways up and running. So, it took a while to get the hallways up and running. So basically, it's just like, there are 2 hallways, left and right and forward and back. It's basically just one long, big room. I just extended it very much. So after I coded that in, it seemed to somewhat work, but with a bit of difficulty. And after way too much programming, and by that I mean way too much programming, I actually managed to get working. I mean, look at it, it's a small little hallway. We'll call that a mission accomplished on the ways. And now to get working for the backwards area. Then this happened. Yeah, we still have a bit of problems on our hands. And the whole thing was going to get a lot worse from here on out. Just work. Why aren't you working? Please just work. Start working. Just work. God! Make a long story short, I just removed the code that made the hallway spawn, and it looks much better now that it's not broken. I'll probably try to re-implement it to fix it, but yeah, that's basically what I'm planning to do with it. Like in the mighty words of Sun Tzu, if you're trying to make a game and you didn't say you can counter any bugs, you're probably lying. Who said that? Sun Tzu, of course. Or probably me. And then, as you can see here, I add a bunch of cylinders to act as pillars for each of the corners of the rooms that spawn. And in this next recording, I turned them to black color to make them more visible. Also, I did manage to get a bit of a player character working for the game because why not? This player character was actually from an old game that me and my friends were going to make, but then we completely forgot about it, so we just scrapped it entirely. We may come back and finish it, whatever, I don't care, I just want to make a more game. Then to give it that more spooky dark feeling, I decided to remove the sun. Much better. Then I started working on the prefab for the big room, and I'm still working on it. Now, the one thing I wanted to pull off is that it jumped a considerable amount of time. And to tell you the truth, I can be very lazy. But I do have an excuse. School. That's it, that's my excuse. Then cut to like February, I started trying to working on getting the big rooms working. And after like about 3 minutes of coding it in, I just decided to like give it up. And then I came back the next day with a slightly better idea of what I'm going to try to do. And now that I have a better idea of what the heck I'm doing, nothing could ever go wrong. Why do you never work? Fixed it, I think. Now let's see if this thing actually works. Well, I mean, it works, just the big rooms don't spawn. Why? After a while, I finally managed to get the big rooms to spawn, but they didn't work in the way that I hoped, but at least I managed to get them to spawn. I kept trying to get them to work, but in the end, they didn't really work out, so just like the hallway, I had to throw them from the project entirely, but I may use them again. Just wait. And with that, that is going to be officially the end of the first devlog of Twisted Corridors. So, dungeon generation. Harder than I expected. Even harder if you have like some of a clue of what you're doing, but not much of a clue. But I think I down and I can finish it by next devlog. I said next devlog because I don't want to push myself too hard with this one. Like the phase video or the last aircraft video I made. For example, the phase video was this was it. It took me way longer. It took me a long time. Well, not really a long time. It took me about a month to get it done. But still, that was a lot of work. Anyway, that's it for this devlog, and I'll see you all in the next one.